make a change. Everybody ready?
Yes.
4 o'clock. Hello to everyone and welcome to the Okefenokee Regional Library Systems Board of Trustees meeting. I call this meeting to order at 4 o'clock. I will begin. My name is Evelyn Denton. I'm from Ware County. I was appointed by the Ware County Commission and I serve as chairman of the board. Now starting from the far right, please introduce yourselves.
I'm Talonda Harris from Ware County, Waycross Library System. Branch.
And who appointed you?
Ware County Commission.
I'm Cheryl Jacobs. I'm from Ware County. I was appointed by the Waycross County Commission. And I guess that's it. Thank you.
Mike Dow from Appleton County. I was appointed by the Appleton County Commissioners.
Sandra Parrish, Pierce County Board of Education.
Darrell Edwards, Appleton County, was appointed by the Appleton County Board of Commissioners.
Wendy Michael, Alma, Bacon County. I was appointed by the Bacon County Commissioners.
Pam Dean of Bacon County was appointed by the Board of Commissioners.
I'm Amber Smith. I'm the chair for the Bacon County Board of Trustees. I was appointed by the City of Alma.
Thank y'all. Next, I want to remind everyone that abusive language, threats, comments, jeers, or shouts from the floor will not be allowed. Disruptive persons will be asked to leave the meeting. We do have security here, should any problems arise. Now for the invocation, I'd like to ask our parliamentarian, Danny Bartlett, to provide prayer.
Let's pray. Our God and our Father in heaven, we thank you so much for the day. We thank you, Father, for these people who have volunteered their time to lead this board. We pray, Father, you be with them and give them wisdom and that they always look to you for guidance. Be with us as we watch, Father, and help us to maintain the kind of attitude that you would have us to have. And we pray, Father, that we always look to you for guidance and that we do your will. In Jesus' name we pray, and amen.
Thank you, sir. Next is the approval of agenda. If you will, take a moment to look over the agenda. Everyone have a chance to look over? We received it prior to the meeting, and now have you looked over it?
Make a motion, we approve the agenda as written.
Okay. If there are no additions or deletions, we will proceed with the agenda approved without objection. Okay, public comment. The board will now hear the public comment. I ask that Amber Smith is going to keep time for us. Be reminded that according to the request to address the OKRLS Board of Trustees rules, no more than 2 issues will be heard during public comment. There was some confusion about this over the last week, so I wanted to clear that up. In addition, the first speaker commenting on an issue will be given 5 minutes to address the board, and any speakers following will be given 1 minute. We'll be hearing comments on the display and personnel policies this afternoon. There are several speakers. Please be respectful of each, and remember that disruptive persons will be asked to leave the meeting. The first topic to be covered will be the personnel policy. Our first speaker is Joshua Leach. Please come forward. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you. I wanted to come back to you about the personnel policy manual. You all have already looked at the personnel policy manual and removed the Appendix A, which was the 2 pages on transgender employees. And I really believe that you intended to remove this policy, but it is still in there. The policy on page 6 of the personnel policy manual, which I have a tab if you want to go to the, I believe it's the pink tab. I might be wrong. Oh, no, it's the very bottom tab, the orange tab at the bottom. I have it highlighted there, but it says sexual harassment includes refusal to respect an individual's gender identity. And then if you'll turn the page, two pages over to the last page. In the Appendix A, it made it clear what that message meant. it uses the same phrasing, refusal to respect an employee's gender identity. For example, intentionally referring to the employee by a name or pronoun that does not correspond to the employee's gender identity is considered harassment. So according to this policy, if I refuse to call a man she, when that man asks me to call him a she, respectfully, if I just say, no, sir, I'm sorry, but you are not a woman. You are a man. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I refuse to call you a she. Then according to your policy, I just committed sexual harassment. That is not sexual harassment. On that front page, I did some research on that phrase. That's a weird phrase, refusal to respect an individual's gender identity. And it's nowhere else in Georgia. If you do a search on the internet, no other place, no other library or any other institution in Georgia has that pull up. It's only in 7 other states. That phrase is only used in policies in 7 other states. And it's also in Canada and Australia in one institution, not the state, but in like some other, like a police department in Australia and some other place. That's the only places this phrase is used, and it's in our manual. The only place in Georgia is at Oak Peninsula Library System. That shows you that something is wrong for this to get in here. I'll also show you that the Three Rivers Library and our Georgia State Code for sexual harassment has almost, well, the Three Rivers Library has the exact same wording, except for that phrase, refusal to respect an individual's gender identity. Everything else is exactly the same in Three Rivers, but somehow this phrase got put into our policy. It needs to go. With all the other stuff going on, this is a huge red flag with the mural and the flags and all the other things we've been talking about that shows how deep this agenda really is. So I'm asking you today to make that motion in the front to remove, all it takes is one of you today to say, I move to remove the phrase refusal to respect an individual's gender identity from the sexual harassment section on page 6. That's all it takes of the personnel policy. Now, also I want to note sexual orientation and gender identity, those two phrases are not in Georgia's code and they're not in the Three Rivers Library policies at all. I think they've been put into this library because we are very concerned that there's a huge LGBTQ activism movement here. The manager herself said that many of her staff are part of the LGBT, or identify with the LGBTQ community, and if not, they are strong allies for that community. So all of the staff are either LGBTQ or activists, strong allies for that community. She even said that those flags they put up for 2 years, that somebody came in and asked for a job because of those flags. You see the concern we have about how deep this LGBTQ movement is in the library? And then she said it won't be over for her staff, even if we take the flags down. That's why we're still looking at all this. Every time we dig, the mural, the person who made the mural, the person that she's in Nebraska. Somehow we went to Nebraska, and she's made 111 of these little symbols. This is still, I refuse to respect Bear Brotherhood. I still have 20 seconds, thank you. Bear Brotherhood is a sexuality about gay men who are sexually attracted to big hairy men. Leather, the leather symbol for libraries. This lady is a library activist to put this symbol up on library walls about leather. People who are sexually attracted to people who like to beat others with leather.
Time.
Please remove the sexuality agenda
Thank
from
you,
the
sir.
library.
Okay, our second speaker is Ken Tapp. Please come forward. You have 1 minute.
Before I begin, I'd like these handouts to be distributed to all members. When they have one, I'll begin my 1 minute. Miss Sandra, I believe there's some handouts waiting to go down the line.
Just trying to figure out what was going on with that. That's okay.
In the minute that I have been given to respond, I do not have time to point out all the legal errors Ms. Leach made in her proposed personnel policy changes. She asked you to remove the term sexual harassment and replace it simply with harassment, and strike examples of what conduct is prohibited by the policy. She also removes prohibitions against discrimination based on sexual orientation or gender identity, even though those are protected under EEOC law. Worse, her suggestion that it is discrimination to require folks to refer to people using their preferred pronouns would be laughable if it wasn't blatant gaslighting. Ms. Leach should leave the policy writing to trained professionals. The suggestions she proposed are inviting an EEOC complaint against the library. Now, if it made any of you uncomfortable that I referred to Josh as she, when one might assume Josh identifies as male, then you have an inkling of what it feels like for a transgendered person to be misgendered. Hopefully, this illustrates
Time
the
is up,
point
sir.
of how
Stand down.
misgendering someone
Please remove
can,
him.
in fact, be harassment.
Another outburst, and you will be escorted out. Okay. Our third speaker is Jennifer Hersey. Please come forward. You have 1 minute.
Hello. So what they're demanding, and based on the policy revisions made by Evelyn Denton, is for you as a board to remove legal protections. These policies come from the EEOC. Why would you as a board, whose job is supposed to be protecting the library staff and patrons, want to purposely put people in harm's way? Why do you, as individuals, want to hurt people? Sexual harassment doesn't only apply to marginalized groups. Anyone can be sexually harassed, and it's always illegal. This isn't your own personal private library. Do you have legitimate, valid reasons for removing legal protections that aren't personal or religious based? Then let's hear them. But based on the lack of signed ethics statements, poorly written policy, and vague language, no, you don't. These are state employees, not yours. When they're openly discriminated against and harassed, whose fault is that going to be? It's going to be yours.
Thank you. Okay, the second topic to be covered is the display policy. Our first speaker is Crystal Wynn. Please come forward. You have 5 minutes.
Hi, I'm here today to ask you to please remove the mural at the entrance of the library as soon as possible. It violates your display policy that prohibits displays on sexuality. It's clearly a display about sexuality because of the heart symbol with the different colors, and we can talk about how when we look at it, it makes us think of Noah's Ark and Sunday school if we want, but it's an actual symbol, and what it represents has already been defined, and that's already been presented here before, and presented in the Journal Herald. And each of those definitions for those colors includes the word sexual or sexually. So we can't argue that that's a sexual display on the wall at the entrance of the library. But I want to talk today about how the mural in its entirety is a display about sexuality. So Joshua referenced the creator of that mural. She is an LGBTQ activist from Nebraska. And she's very open about her reasons for making these murals. And when making those, she created logos, and you see several on our mural. She created several that represent different nationalities, a handful that represents different religions, and a handful that represents different disabilities, and over 111 that represent different genders and sexuality. 111. Please, Lord, help us and help us honor you and repent and return and forgive me for my sins. This is my prayer. But 111, if you're not sure what I'm talking about when I say the stick figure logos, he showed you a few. This is the Bear Brotherhood sexuality logo, and he said it represents gay men who are sexually attracted to large, hairy men. This is the Puppy Play sexuality logo, and it represents those who express their sexuality by behaving as young pups. And this is the leather sexuality logo that she made that represents people who express their sexuality with leather and bondage, and you can see the black and blue coloration. These, when she created them, she knew that not many communities are going to be able to put the Bear Brotherhood logo as large as what we have at the entrance of their library. So she also created the heart that we do have, which encompasses all 111 of these genders and sexualities. And until we are woke-minded enough to accept these, that will have to do. And so this is clearly a display about sexuality. When she was reached out to by Mr. Ken Taft and others about what's going on here locally in Waycross about her mural, she replied by posting that our county commissioners are, quote, hypocritical scum, and that any trustee or community member that would oppose such a sexually charged display in a public library is, quote, a Christian terrorist. So this is who our library reached out to and selected to get a mural from for our local library. And at first, I was shocked that we would go and choose someone there. But then when I thought back to that public meeting last year where Ms. Tanner did explain that all of her staff either are strong allies for the LGBTQ community or identify with that community. And then Ms. Harris replied by saying that we have special signifiers now for that community, our flags and displays like that. And that now your work, speaking to the library staff, your work begins for your community, the LGBTQ community. And then I realized how far the library has stepped outside of their lane, outside of their scope of practice, if you will. It's in your personnel policy that you cannot bring your personal agenda, your personal mission or personal cause into the taxpayer-funded library, use taxpayer funds to further your personal agenda. That violates your personnel policy as it currently stands. But this happens because of an error in oversight. And so I also wanted to say that I'm thankful you are trustees placed here, not library advocates. You were selected, handpicked by our elected officials who we elected based on their thoughts on issues like this. They handpicked you to come be a trustee over the library, to keep a watchful eye and be good stewards over the taxpayers and their money. And so when the library goes rogue and takes their own personal agenda and says, I'm going to use taxpayer money to do work for our community, then I'm praying that you will remove the displays and look deeper into what's going on in the library and make sure we line up with all of the policies in everything that we do. And I prayerfully hope that we can all do better. Thank you.
Thank you. Our second speaker on the topic is Linda Wilson. Please come forward. You have 1 minute.
These are facts I'd like you to consider. Only the American and Georgia flags are displayed in the Waycross Ware County public buildings. This library is a public building. Pride Day flags were displayed for 19 consecutive months in this library. 2,600 plus citizens petitioned this regional board to revise the display policy. That revised policy was approved by this board, regional board, August 7th, 2023. 100 plus requests for reconsideration forms were submitted to the regional director shortly thereafter. Those forms were acted upon in late April 2024. This board is governed by your city, county commissioners.
Time. Thank you. Okay. Third speaker is Ken Taft. Please come forward. You have 1 minute.
Again, I ask that time begin once everyone has a handout because it's needed for the purposes of what I'm going to say. Some community members and even elected politicians have asked this board to remove the mural claiming it violates the displays and exhibits policy. That policy was enacted in August 2023 against the advice of the council hired by this board. I've given you a simple test to help you decide if the display and exhibit policy engages in viewpoint discrimination by restricting speech based on sex-based ideology. It is a very simple concept. If a speech act is treated differently by a government entity based on the viewpoint it expresses, this is viewpoint discrimination. Look at the images of the rainbows on the sheet in front of you. If the displays and exhibit policy allows some of the rainbows but prohibits others, this is viewpoint discrimination. The policy doesn't purport to ban all rainbows, just those whose viewpoint is represented by the LGBT community. And that is viewpoint discrimination.
Time. Thank you. Okay, our fourth speaker is Chris Tomlinson. Please come forward. You have 1 minute. Chris Tomlinson here. Okay, we'll go on to fifth speaker, Katrina Campbell. Please come forward. You have 1 minute.
How did we get here? In January 23, a newly strategically selected board member volunteered for the task of rewriting the display exhibits policy with one goal in mind: to remove the mural. As of today, that board member, Evelyn Denton, has yet to sign the trustee's ethics statement so that she can continue to willfully discriminate. I am aware that there are other board members who have yet to sign or want to have their signatures rescinded. By not signing this statement, they condemn the highlights presented on this document: respect, comply, distinguish, avoid, support. Sex-based ideology has become the bane of their existence and has misrepresented to incorporate the LGBT community in this poorly written policy.
Next speaker is Barbara Griffin. Please come forward. You have 1 minute.
In June 2022, Linda Wilson filed a complaint at the Waycross Public Library that the flag garland behind the front desk violated biblical teachings and should be removed, and presented this at the local board meeting on July 18th, 22. At the same meeting, a compromise was offered to install a mural that would be all-inclusive. A picture of this mural was passed around and approved by the board. Ex officio board member Timmy Lucas offered to provide volunteers to prep the lobby wall prior to its placement. At the local library board meeting on October 17, 2022, the minutes of the July meeting were approved and seconded by Timmy Lucas. By then, the garland had been removed and the mural was in place. A very restrictive new display caps policy was created and introduced in August 2023 by board member Evelyn Denton with the goal of removing the mural. This mural installation, and that's what it is, not a display,
Time.
has been twice approved.
Thank you. Okay, next speaker is Diana Morphin. Please come forward. You have 1 minute. Is Diana Morphin here?
Cindy Russ.
Cindy Russ is not going to be here. She's let us know she's not going to be here. So is Diana Morphin here? Oh, okay. How about Jennifer Hersey?
Me, I'm still here.
You have 1 minute.
It is illegal for the majority to use their numbers and personal ideologies to tyrannize and terrorize the minority. Full stop. Illegal. The people seeking to remove this installation are given much more time on this agenda. You aren't getting to publicly hear from all the people who are in favor because they have no reason to submit a reconsideration form. This form is only for those complaining, and their complaints are from their own religious-based ideology, which again is illegal. This installation was unanimously approved by this board. We didn't get here because of a desire for neutrality. We got here because of open discrimination against marginalized populations. There are now years of evidence to support this. The politicians who are pressuring you to make these decisions are doing so to cover themselves. They don't want to make these decisions. They want you to be held liable, and you will be held liable.
I would like to say one follow-up thing. In your statement, you couldn't fill out a request for reconsideration. You just say you don't want anything done.
I mean, I've already done that.
Well,
But
I'm saying
as a
that-
general, most people don't know.
for anyone.
most people don't know that they can do a reconsideration because it's, the way it's listed is that you have a problem with something happening.
Hence, I'm stating it now, anyone that wants to fill out a request for reconsideration, whether it's to take something down or to keep something remaining, you can fill it out. There is a process for that, okay? We acknowledge everyone. We want everyone to have equal access. This is what the board's for, okay?
Good to know.
All right. So I want to thank each of you for sharing your point of view, and I would like to point out that your being here and having the ability to communicate your personal view is proof that OKRLS welcomes everyone. This Board of Trustees is here to ensure that all residents of the system and counties of Appleton, Bacon, Clinch, Pierce, and Ware have equal access to each of the branch libraries within the system and its many services. Okay, so next order of business is to approve the minutes from our previous meeting, which was held February 5th, 2024. The minutes were emailed to us, however, I want us to take another look, see if there's any corrections that need to be made. Has everyone had a chance to look at the meeting minutes? Okay. We good? Head nod, something? Yeah, okay. If there are no corrections, we'll accept the minutes approved without objection. Accepted. Now, going on to unfinished business. We'll discuss or consider the display and exhibits policy regarding the removal of the libraries are for everyone mural located in the foyer. The policy was approved by the OKRLS Board of Trustees in August of 2023. The expectation of the board is that all policies are followed. The director referred the issue to the Waycross Ware County Board of Trustees, and the issue was voted on, and the mural was allowed to remain in place. The director has now referred the concern to this board, and the regional board has governing authority regarding the system. It's my understanding that multiple requests for reconsideration forms were lost due to some error in the transition from one interim director, Gina Martin, to a second interim director, Stephen Wiggum, and then on to our newly hired director, Erica Stembridge. I feel it is in the best interest of our system to stop kicking the can down the road and deal with the issues at hand. If we do not handle these issues, it's likely we will not be fully funded. First, I'd like to remind you of a few points of the policy. Number one, areas used for display may include bulletin boards, brochure racks, cases, shelves, designated wall space, galleries, or other designated spaces at or in the OKRLS headquarters or branch libraries. Number two, materials serving primarily as political campaign literature or using persuasive and/or coercive language or containing symbols which promote religious, political, or sex-based ideology are unacceptable. Displays and exhibits, whether initiated by library staff or the public, must not remain in place for longer than 31 days from the date of creation unless granted special approval by the local board, whichever sees the branch library in which the display or exhibit is housed. Now, I'll entertain a motion to vote on the removal of the mural based on the displays and exhibits policy, which was approved by this board August 7th, 2023.
First, I would like to move that any votes that we have today, we do them as roll call votes. Okay.
I'll second.
Okay? We'll do roll call.
Well, I move to vote on the removal of the mural based on the fact that it doesn't comply with our policy.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second, but I have some comments.
Yes.
That'd be all right, is this appropriate time?
Yeah, I think we can discuss
Yeah.
before we vote.
You know, I've been on this board for about a year now, and this issue has been prevalent the whole time. We can't run the business of the library because of this issue. We can't focus on what we need to do. You know, no matter if you support or don't like it, you like it or you don't like it, I bet no one here can say that it's not divisive, can you? It's divisive. It splits the community, it splits this board, it splits everybody in this room. This library will never flourish, it will never grow, it will never be the library we all want it to be until we address this issue. And I think because it violates our policy, the divisiveness of it, I second that motion. But, you know, it caters to, we can't cater to every different group out there. There's not a Star of David out there. There's not a Buddha symbol out there. There's a lot of things that aren't out there. By having nothing, being neutral, then we don't discriminate or alienate anyone. That's my take on it. And I'll second the motion.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to read an email that I just got a little while ago. I'm not going to state the name because, well, I've gotten dozens of these things just today. But it says, please consider removing the mural from the library, not because I find it offensive, but because half the community does. We have to end the constant fighting over these issues. Let the kids have a place to come without agendas. I think that says it very plainly.
Can I know this is probably out of order, but could I ask a question before we vote? Being new, coming into this, already going on, what are the legal ramifications? And I ask that simply as, I know we vote and we're happy with what our vote is or whatever, but somebody else could come in and say that violates whatever, and the whole system could be sued. And then if the board isn't taking care of it, then we could come in behind that and be sued. I'm a single mama. You know, money is not high on my list of things that I have. So what are the legal?
I think there are some protections because we were appointed by the county and then we were elected to make sure that this library is ran in a way that is accessible to everyone. It's not about excluding anyone, it's about including everybody. And I think if your motives are right, then you're safe. You could get sued for anything at any time, by anybody. So why be fearful of something such as that? I mean, if you believe in something, stand up for it.
Madam Chair, I just want to make sure, well, that she's privy to our previous legal counsel that told us because of our particular situation that we run the risk of violating First Amendment and civil rights. Also want to point out that because this was a pre-existing issue before the library secured insurance for the board concerning matters such as this, that it was not going to be covered under pre-existing conditions. Thirdly, I also want to point out that our library policy that we currently have was made with the intention of getting the mural removed. I also want to point out that, I really feel it needs to be rescinded because it was based on three things. One is that it's ambiguous and it does leave some level, too much interpretation.
Okay. you
The,
need
the
to
other,
hurry
the
up.
other thing is that, it was adopted under preconceived notion that it was approved by the state librarian. And we found out after we voted during that meeting during the break, when Evelyn said she had talked to Julie Walker, who was our state librarian, and she approved the policy.
Okay.
That she
I'm
had
gonna
in
stop
fact
you right
not
there.
talked to Julie Walker at all. And so.
Sorry, excuse me. That is not right.
Okay.
I said that
Okay.
someone had spoken.
Okay, and thirdly, I just want to say that when we examine what is happening in this mural, that there is a whole community, not a part of the community. And there are other displays, there are other things that are, that we need to look at in terms of this policy. And I really think that one of the things we need to do is look at the policy that also creates some additional problems in terms of this
Okay,
community.
we can look at it right now. We have this on the table to discuss. We're gonna go along with it, okay? We're gonna go forward. What I can say to you is that we can be sued at any time by anybody for anything. The thing is, the opinion, if you'll hold off for just a minute and let me say what I need to say, okay? The legal opinion by Mr. Wade Herring was based on like a draft, a version of the policy. It was not the final policy. The final policy was reviewed, revised, and approved by vote of this board in August of 2023.
May I ask you a question, Madam Chairperson? That policy that was approved, right? The policy that was sent out to the board ahead of time for review for that meeting, was that policy?
That was the one that was sent out. Julie Walker looked at, as best I know, right?
It was a draft, yeah.
Julie Walker and Gina Martin were both in on this, and they sent instructions to me to take out a couple of those items or to tweak those items because they felt it would be better. So I did that, and I turned it into you guys the day of. I wasn't pushing anything. I was giving it to you to review, which you did. Everyone here did. We looked at it, we discussed it, and we voted on it.
Okay, so even though Julie Walker herself said that she had approved no policy, she didn't talk to you at all.
She didn't approve anything.
Mike asked her one question, that she didn't approve a policy. Gina Martin received.
She doesn't have to approve.
Okay,
the
listen, but that's what was stated. Gina Martin received the policy in the email an hour before the meeting. And when we got here prepared to vote on the original revision that was provided for our display policy, hold on, let me finish. That once it was stated that Julie Walker sanctioned the second revision, that influenced the board's decision to go ahead and take a look at something that was presented at the last minute, that we didn't really have time to examine. The fact that it was stated that
You did,
Julie
and I'll
Walker
just stop you there
sanctioned
because
that
we're gonna go forward to
really, really changed the circumstance.
You can vote against it if you don't like it.
We've had enough. Okay. Let's see where we're at.
Can I
We've
just
got to
make a
vote.
statement before we vote?
You can say a statement, but we don't want a 5-minute statement.
I don't have time to say it. I'm just saying that the only legal opinion we have been given, because at that May 23rd meeting when Wade Herring was here, like 3 different board members said that they wanted to seek other opinions. So his is the only opinion that we have, because no one else sought opinions and gave them to the board. And that stated that it was unconstitutional.
That was
So-
paid for,
Yeah, that was paid for.
and we didn't have money to go get other attorneys.
Okay, whatever. But I mean, that's,
And individually, you have every right to seek counsel anytime.
well, I mean, there were 3 people that said they were individually going to, but I asked for those opinions if they
Why
did
would we
seek counsel.
Opinion from legal.
Because of our.
Because you said you were going to.
Yeah, and you
On the
disagreed
video.
with what he said, correct.
Candace, you and
I
Ms.
can
Riley
go by
said that.
myself to obtain legal counsel. That don't mean I'm gonna go and turn it over to her. I'm seeking seeking legal counsel for myself, she can do the same thing.
Right, you were seeking a second
A
opinion
second
about
opinion
the
about that
issue.
one was what was stated.
Yeah.
So anyway, the only one we received has been said that it was unconstitutional.
Okay, but
Okay, we
here
can
it
go
is.
ahead.
We're gonna vote.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, sir.
I'm wearing the hat as parliamentarian,
Thank you, sir.
so I go out of my way to be neutral. I'm gonna take that hat off for a minute. I'm gonna put my hat on. I'm the executive director of Okefenokee Citizens Defending Freedom. We have our own lawyer side, and I did get his opinion. It wasn't conformed by the whole board, but it's just an opinion. Just like Wade Herring's, it's just an opinion. And lawyers have been known to be wrong. So,
Oh, come on.
I'm just
This,
saying.
I will make a point of order that this is an improper statement as a parliamentarian.
I took that hat off and I put my other hat on.
But you're not on the agenda. He was not on the public comment.
We're not gonna have a meltdown. What I can do as the chairman is acknowledge someone. If I feel like I wanna acknowledge them, I'm gonna say, go ahead, give me your comment. That's allowed.
As long as it supports your viewpoint.
I'm listening to you. I'm listening to you.
You wouldn't even let a board member finish talking.
You go on for 90 minutes if you could.
Yeah.
Okay, we're not gonna do this.
Madam Chair.
I'm not gonna keep doing this. We are gonna maintain order.
Just like to reiterate the point I made a few minutes ago, that this is a divisive thing, it needs to come to an end, it needs to be handled, done, we need to put it behind us.
We need to vote. Just
Absolutely.
need to vote. Okay, so, we have the motion to vote,
We got a second.
and we got a second, so we'll go forward. Let's
Can we
start.
restate the motion, please,
Okay.
since time has passed?
Second.
I move to vote on the removal of the display, the mural, based on the fact that it does not go along with our policy.
And who seconded? You
I
seconded?
second, yes,
Okay. So we're ready to vote. Do you want to start with you, Amber Smith?
Okay, so one more time on your wording. Your motion is to remove it.
Yes.
Okay. I will say aye.
I mean, remove it.
I remove it, please.
Remove.
And Dean? Remove.
Ms. Wendy.
Remove. Okay.
Yes, remove, yes, ma'am.
Ms. Sandra?
Remove.
I say remove.
Mike Dahl, remove.
Cheryl Jacobs, keep.
Okay.
Keep.
Melissa Day? So we're at 7-3.
What did Melissa say?
She wants to keep it. So we have 7 to remove, 3 to keep. So it passes, we will remove.
Okay.
Okay, thank y'all for bearing with us. All right, now we'll move on to review the quotes for the camera system.
Okay, we have 3 quotes for cameras. We want to upgrade the cameras in all 5 locations. So, per the financial policies, it's over $10,000, so we need to get approval from the board. We're requesting that you approve the B&H quote, because per item that comes in as the lowest bid for the cameras.
Okay.
So you can see all the prices. And that's the one we would like to go with because of the cost, and we worked with them before with ordering equipment. The equipment's gonna be installed by our tech services manager, Daniel, so we won't incur any installation costs. And we're able, by using B&H, we're able to get more memory sticks, so it lasts, so we can capture more video and keep it for a longer period of time.
Okay.
So we've done business with them before,
We have.
and y'all gotten along real well, been able to work with them?
Oh, yeah, they're an outlet to buy equipment from.
All right.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am?
I move that we, give approval to use the B&H quote to purchase the necessary equipment.
I second.
Thank you. Okay.
All in favor? You have to- you have to vote. You gotta vote.
We gotta vote, sorry, getting ahead of myself. Okay, so are we gonna do the roll call thing again? Might as well. Okay, let's do the roll call. We're gonna vote on taking B&H as the lowest bidder, accepting their bid.
Start with Sam.
Again, let's start to my left, Amber Smith.
I would accept that quote.
Okay. Okay.
Wendy Michael, accept.
Daryl, yep.
Yes, for me.
Yes for me.
Mike Dow, yes.
Aye.
Yes. Okay. Now, it's passed, approved. All right, now let's review the personnel policy. If you'll scroll to that, or turn to that piece of paper. Okay, so the following changes are proposed. I'm just gonna read them out for you, and then we'll go individually for each one, okay? Replacement of the old display policy with the current displays and exhibits policy, and you can look at page 44 and see that. Then, language is to be added to the child and dependent person's safety policy in Appendix F, that's on page 47. Then there's replacement of the assistant director position in Appendix G with the youth services librarian position. That's on page 48. And then there's revision of the conditions of employment to ensure all forms of harassment are addressed in the policy and to ensure that our policy itself is not discriminatory in its language. You'll see that sexual harassment is the only form of harassment specifically addressed in the current policy, if you'll see page 6. So we'll go through each one of these things. We'll turn to page 44. That's page 44 in your packet. Yeah, it's got its own file, you have to back it up. It's gonna take a minute, you're scrolling.
Doesn't matter for the rest of it.
It's gonna take me to black out and then it'll
Say it is page 48 or 44.
44. Page 44 for the first thing.
Send me a Christmas card.
Does everyone see what I'm talking about, page 44?
Mine's still loading.
Mine's still loading on here too.
That's general. Pull up my phone and just pull up the
What's better? If you have to, you can pull it up on your phone. She said through your email and it pulls up faster. Yeah, it's not showing up.
Got page 45 and it went to the top.
It says page 44, but it's dark.
Evelyn, basically, page 44 is taking Appendix E and replacing the old policy, the old display and exhibits policy with the new one. Basically, so everyone knows, it's basically just, that's just like general housekeeping, to
Yeah.
update that policy.
Do y'all understand what she's saying? To take the old policy out and put the new policy in?
In Appendix E.
Appendix E. So, we can entertain a motion for each of these things individually. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the change.
I think we made one change.
Make this one
Or
change.
all.
That would allow us some discussion on each other. I would like to move that, we remove the old Appendix E and replace it with the new Appendix E.
Do I have a second?
Second.
She said second, but she couldn't hear, she didn't hear us.
Okay.
To change E to what was
We're
that?
updating Appendix E with the current policy, replacing, because it had an old policy in here.
And so we're going to look at each thing and then vote on it. To
So you're not
change
gonna
that.
just vote on the policy changes as a whole?
I thought, well,
Normally, that's what we do.
we can do that. We can do that. We can vote on policy changes as a whole at the end of this.
It's easier.
Let's get the motions for each item, and at the end of it, is that what we're doing?
No,
What are you talking about?
she's saying wait.
I'm saying, why don't you look at all of the changes that we've made, or that we're proposing, and then you can vote on it as a whole. You know, you can change anything else, but you're gonna vote at one time for the revision of the personnel
Well, let's
policy.
do that. Let's do that. If everybody's in agreement. Everybody in
I'm in
agreement?
agreement.
Okay, let's do that. So next up, if everybody's gotten this to understand what we're doing, is removing old, putting in new, go on to the language added to the child and dependent person safety policy. It's in Appendix F, see page 47. Let me get there, and I'll read it to you. What's added is it says, under no circumstances will library staff members provide transportation to unattended minors or dependent persons or leave them alone in the building or on the library
Excuse
premises.
me, Evelyn, that was already in the policy, that's not a change.
Oh,
There's
it's
no
in
line
red.
through it.
Okay.
It was already in the policy in red.
Okay.
That's not a
okay.
change.
Well, let's not stay. How about that? So we don't even have to worry about that one. Next is replacement of the assistant director position in Appendix G. Replacement with the youth services librarian position. That's right.
Correct.
That's what you wanted to.
Just basically updating the title, because we do not have an assistant director at this time.
Okay, can y'all all see that? We're removing the one position and putting in the other? Okay.
So what's the position?
Youth services librarian is the new position. Done with that. Next is the revision of the conditions of employment to ensure all forms of harassment are addressed in the policy. You'll look at page 6. And I've heard several people speak on this, and I understand what you're saying. And I also understand what's been provided by the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. So I'm going to read what they say here. Harassment is unwelcome conduct that is based on race, color, religion, and sex, which includes sexual orientation, gender identity, or pregnancy, national origin, older age, beginning at age 40, disability, or genetic information, including family medical history. Now, the problem with our policy that I can see, this has been pointed out to me, by patrons, citizens, and commissioners, 5 counties, okay? Get phone calls, get text, face-to-face confrontations at Jerry J's. So this is coming from everybody. They look at this and they see sexual harassment, not harassment, sexual harassment. So this policy itself seems to be a little discriminatory because it doesn't mention the other forms of harassment. It's singling out only sexual harassment. And so this is why I feel like there needs to be a change. It does need to say harassment because if you look, this comes from EEOC. Does it say sexual harassment or just harassment? I think you'll find it says harassment. There's many forms. So what we want to do is protect everyone from harassment, period. So what we've proposed is to have, it is the policy of OKRLS to provide a place that is comfortable for employees to work. In compliance with applicable federal and state laws, OKRLS will be a place that is free of any form of harassment, especially against protected classes. I would like to add that in, okay? All employees are responsible for assuring that workplace is free of harassment and should promptly report incidents or possible incidents of harassment to their supervisor, the director, or the human resources and business manager. After investigation, any employee found to have engaged in harassment will be subject to disciplinary actions that range from counseling and education up to and including termination of employment. That covers everybody. No one's left out. That's the proposal.
Evelyn, in the first paragraph under discrimination, there's changes as well.
Oh yeah, on the top of that page. That was the major under sexual. But if you look up at the top where it says discrimination, the Okefenokee Regional Library System does not discriminate in any way, including but not limited to failure to hire, failure to promote unwanted discipline or unlawful termination on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, national origin, age, disability, or genetic information. OKRLS is committed to creating a safe and productive workplace environment for all employees. And then you go on down in the 4th paragraph of that same discrimination. Any incident of workplace discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, national origin, age, disability, or genetic information will be given immediate and effective attention, including but not limited to investigating the incident, taking suitable corrective action, and providing employees with appropriate resources. So again, it's the same kind of language. There's forms, there's all kinds of forms of harassment, and we want to protect our people from all forms of harassment equally.
I think it's good.
So, that's that. Yes, ma'am.
My only question is, since I'm the HR person for Okefenokee, on January 23rd, 2023, I got a letter from our Todd Carter, who is our employment attorney, and he had reviewed page 6. And he said the sexual harassment paragraph, there was no, that was fine.
He said it was in compliance.
Correct.
Correct? Okay, so there's a wide range of what can be compliant.
My concern is us making this change without me going back to him to say, hey, can I change this to just say harassment? I have not contacted him because I did not want to spend the funds without the approval of the board.
I don't think it's necessary when you have EEOC telling you harassment. That's like federal. So, again, that's looking for a lawyer's opinion. You're gonna hire him so you can spend more money to get an opinion that really the EEOC covers plainly.
Well, we went to him before, and that's why we removed the appendix with, the appendix A at the time, and he recommended us removing that. He recommended us changing something in our dress code, but he had reviewed this too and said it was fine. So,
I totally get what you're saying.
I just wanted to put that out there.
My point being, though, is the way it was addressed to him, if I remember correctly, is this compliant? Is our policy compliant? And so when you look at sexual harassment, you could say, well, that means compliance on a sexual basis, but there's nothing else really in there. So I want to have this where we're just covering everyone for every form of harassment that is recognized as protected classes by the EEOC. And I think we'll definitely be in compliance.
What does he charge to give us that piece of information?
I don't know, it charges a couple $100s an hour, typical attorney fees. I don't know how long it would take him to review it, I don't know what he would charge. I haven't called him.
Lynn, when he sent us that letter, if I'm not mistaken, it also had an EEOC reference on that email, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Well, that was for, yep, that was talking about, discrimination based on, sexual orientation or gender.
And that was the link he gave us from the EEOC.
Which again,
Right,
sex includes. the
Sex
gender
includes that.
identity, Sexual orientation, and it includes pregnancy, which is odd, because under sexual harassment in our policy, it doesn't say anything about pregnancy, which is, that's to me.
I think that's because because it's new, the pregnancy thing is relatively new.
It's just really odd.
Well, we never updated it.
So do we need to vote or what?
I think we need to vote. So,
So the word sex here is including sexual orientation and gender identity,
that's
so.
according to EEOC.
Yes, it does.
Sex includes gender identity, sexual orientation, and pregnancy.
Okay.
So if you have the term sex in there, why do we have all this inflammatory language in our policy?
I don't really think it's
All it is
inflammatory,
doing
but.
is causing a
Do that for lawyers.
I think what happened was, when this policy was put into place, a lot of libraries were using this from a lawyer that they went to a director's meeting, they talked about the policy, that's how Appendix A got in there, that's how everyone was redoing their policies at the time, and
That was the recommendation.
that was the recommendation at the time.
And that's fine. It's just now, when we see there's a problem and we need to do a correction, we should always be able to back up and say, oh, we made a mistake. And that's what I wanna do.
But here's my concern. We have, a problem that's identified by a small segment of the community. And for me, it's the clarity, so that when people see that, people who may not understand what that means, especially in the climate that we're in this particular community, that it makes it clear of exactly what all those components, may be related to. It makes me think about meetings in this very room where words and names and descriptions were called out, and maybe perhaps people didn't understand what that could lead to, or what kind of language that is.
Pedophile?
Yeah. So to understand, what all is included, for me, it's about clarity.
I
You can
can't
go to the
answer
EEOC site and figure that out. That is definitely something that you will cover. We can all cover, we can look at it. That's fine. I'm just saying that we've got too much wordiness that's all about sexual stuff. So
Well,
let's
and the
just
word,
move on.
like you pointed out, we cannot discriminate based on race, color, religion, sex,
Right.
national origin, age, and sex does include gender identity, sexual orientation. If you look it up online, it's
It does.
clear.
Yes. It is clear. So I think we're good legally. It's just a matter of us voting on it. So do I have a motion? Does
Madam
someone want to
Chairman.
make a move?
I thought you already had a motion.
Do we have motion to?
We got a motion in a
I don't
second.
think so. Well, I withdrew my motion because they decided they wanted to vote on everything at one time versus going one at a time.
You make a motion.
To accept the revision.
To accept the revisions.
As a whole.
As a whole.
As a whole, yes.
And
And
second?
I second that.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, so let's start with you, Amber, again. Give us your vote.
Yes, I accept.
Yes, I accept.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes for me.
Yes, for me.
Cheryl?
No.
I would prefer that we have it reviewed before we approve it, so I'm gonna say nay.
So we've got 8-2, is that right?
Yeah, that's what.
8-2. Revisions are passed. Okay.
I'll make the changes and send a copy to all board members.
All right, so now we'll review the fees and fines chart. Y'all have your fees and fines chart. We've got to make the fees and fines chart first.
It's a different
I'm just
day,
trying to
so.
get pulled up. Has everybody got the fees and fines chart?
She says it's on page 35 of the script.
Mine usually kicks out about time we get halfway.
Okay, good.
If you scroll too fast, it won't load it. I think is what I'm finding out, so you have to kind of.
It looks like
Let it catch
there's
up.
1, 2, 3, 4, like 4 little changes proposed for the Regional Library Board to approve. Under printing and copying services, it looks like printing color and black and white will be 25 cents per page. That's printing, and then copying is 25 cents per page. And then down under small envelope, they'll charge 10 cents per envelope, and a large one will be 25 cents per envelope.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the proposed recommendation, the updates to the fees and fines chart.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Second. Awesome. Folks, let's start over here with Melissa this time. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to do
Yeah. Yeah.
Yay.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes. Now, pass. Okay, good. Next on up, we have got the maintenance and effort requirement. I guess you're just gonna read that?
Well, I mean, I was just going to kind of go back over that. I mean, I think everybody's aware that we were having some funding problems. And we have to, receive state aid, we have to keep the maintenance of effort, which is stay at our current funding, or of course, we would like to go up. We still have one county that has not funded, but all the other counties have funded up to.
What are we gonna do with that county?
Well, they're in talks to possibly join another system, so
Kick them out?
that is being discussed.
Erica, what was their issue with it?
They're gonna keep themselves voluntarily.
I know.
What was their issue with
Move it,
funding?
Sandra.
They never really said specifically.
And it had anything to do with what we've been talking about today?
What was your question, Gerald? I'm sorry.
Why did they do it?
Why is their funding being withheld?
Well, I can tell you from speaking to the commissioners that they would like us to stop with all the division in the community and disruption at the library. That's the major thing, is they have been inundated with phone calls and texts, and I think face-to-face confrontations too, and they want this solved. And so they're like, we've, appointed you guys, and you get elected this regional board, y'all are the governing authority, fix this. So that's
We
how it's
fixed it
been.
too.
At the meeting last week, at the call board meeting, Mr. Maddox got up and spoke, and I was on the phone for that meeting, and I point blank asked him why. And he said that he was concerned that Ware County is going to cut the funding, and that's why they want to move. That was his reasoning.
That's not what was told to me.
That is what he said.
That's exactly what he said.
I was there too, that's what he said.
And I explained to him that that's been going on a long time versus Ware County saying they're gonna cut our
Yes,
funding.
go ahead. Of course you can.
At this point, Ware County has not defunded, and we have paid current, I believe the librarian knows that.
Yes.
we have paid current, and we have not missed any payments.
Correct. I told them that. I told Mr. Maddox that.
Good. Okay, well, hopefully this issue's gonna be solved and we can stay funded and, keep our library going.
We can, Mr. Chair, if I may, we can have one more caveat to that.
Yes, sir.
The grant, as everybody knows, the library is getting a grant. Ware County has went ahead and matched our portion of it, so that grant is still coming. It's $1,010,000, I believe, is the exact amount, $1,010,000.
Yes, sir.
So that funding is coming to this library, okay? And we've made our match, I believe, got another commissioner here. We made our match, so that's still a go. We haven't withdrew anything.
Well, then we can pray that maybe Pierce won't leave our system. If they feel comfortable with the decisions that you've made, maybe they'll decide to stay.
Yeah, will you please report to them, Sandra?
Well, we're voting on Thursday.
Okay.
Wait, let me say that another way. We're meeting on Thursday, again, a called meeting,
Okay.
but to discuss and vote. We had one last week, and it was tabled to be able to read the information that we had been given.
Well, hopefully, if they see we've made strides at trying to have peace in our communities and at the library, they will stick with us and not go to another system. All right, so let's talk about signatory authority, no, sorry, skip ahead. Director's salary, we need to approve director's salary.
I have a motion, I have something written that every year we have to, put into the minutes
Yes,
for
ma'am.
the director's salary. Her salary is staying the same, but the state pay benefits are changing because the percentage for TRS is increasing.
Okay.
So basically, this is what the motion, whoever's gonna make the motion, that's how it needs to be said.
And
And then there.
the amounts here.
Yep, right here.
And then Daryl.
Darryl, will you do this as our treasurer?
This is how the motion needs to be written in the minutes and said. Just this.
All right. You ready for a motion, Chairman?
I'm ready for a motion. Y'all ready?
Yep.
Okay.
I, Darrell Edwards, make a motion to pay Director Erica Stembridge annual salary and benefits totaling $114,896.80, with a breakdown as follows: state paid salary $78,000, state paid benefits $36,896.80, local zero.
Local paid salary, 0, local paid benefit, 0.
Exactly, local paid salary 0 and local paid
They
benefits
asked-
0.
The state requires it to be read that way. 78. No, it's 114 is with the health insurance and the teacher's retirement system, all in taxes.
It's the same.
All right, now you done? I second.
Yeah, let's vote. See why I give it to Daryl? I know that was gonna be.
Change, okay, not a change.
That's just what it read, just.
Yeah, it hadn't changed any of the salary.
No change, no, I mean, like no coins.
Oh, yes, no change.
We have a motion.
I still have a motion a second.
Yeah.
So then we,
Let's vote.
if there's, let's go back with us.
Aye.
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 Aye. Well, look at there, approved. Thank God. Got a good director. Okay. All right. Signatory authority now needs to be handled for FY '25.
Every year, as part of our annual documents to the state, this is one of the documents that has to be signed by the board chair and a motion made in the minutes to give Erica signatory authority for the system, for fiscal year '25.
Erica, you gonna do good? You're not gonna mess up with that signature, are you? It has been done.
Oh, no. Madam Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
I move that for the fiscal year 2025, Staff Director Erica Stembridge will be given signatory authority.
Thank you, ma'am. Do I have a second?
I second.
Wonderful.
Don't get that. You don't, or you have to vote on that.
So now let's switch back over here then. Let's start voting here. Amber?
Yes.
Wendy?
Yes.
Darryl?
Yes.
Sandra?
Yes.
Ellen, yes?
Yes.
Evelyn, yes, okay, so passes. We good. Now we'll review the regional FY 2025 budget for approval.
Okay, I do not have a budget for you today because we're not sure if Pierce County is leaving our system or not. If they vote, just to give you a little bit of idea, if they vote to leave our system, we are, where's my post-it note? Here it is. Our system's gonna lose about $182,000 from our state grant.
How much?
$182,000. So, I don't have a budget for you today because I actually have two budgets prepared, but I don't have one for you to approve yet because we're not sure what's gonna happen, so.
And so either or.
It's gonna be either or. If Pierce County stays with our library system,
Okay.
or if they don't.
So is this something, well,
We're, just to give you an idea, if Pierce County stays with our system, we're gonna receive about $65,000 in state material money. And we divide that out per population between each branch. If they leave, we're gonna only have $51,000. And, you know, our total grant, this is just state, our total state grant is like $764,000, which includes that material money. It's gonna go down to $582. Because we're gonna lose an allocated position, and we're going to lose another allocated position that we get based on the population of our library system.
So we're gonna have two librarians, right?
So so that means we will not, if this happens, we will not be able to replace our open position for our youth services librarian.
okay. So a lot's
A lot is
riding
riding on it. That's why I was like, please don't leave.
I know, please don't leave.
Please don't leave.
So do we have time to table that until after?
Can we table this?
Yes, you can, and that's what I'm asking for, if you'll table it, but you will have to have a called meeting before July 1st to approve a budget in order for us to be able to do business July 1st.
Call meeting
Before.
for July 1st.
Do I need to make a motion on that? Would you please? I make a motion to table the approval for the budget approval for fiscal year 2025 until our call meeting, whenever that may be.
Thank you, ma'am. Do we have a second? Second. Cheryl.
You got that one, didn't you?
Yeah. Gotta be fast around here.
Okay, well, that's handled.
You have to vote.
We vote? Oh, yeah. Voting. Let's go again with you, Amber.
Yes.
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 Yes?
Yes.
No. Table. All right, next up is the financial report. We'll receive a budgetary update for the third quarter of FY 2024.
Our total revenue for the period for the regional office was $394,190.25. Total expenditures were $388,634.87. We're right on track. We're actually a little under budget, obviously because we've had some of the extra funds, the SSG funds that we've gotten from having our youth services librarian position unfilled, and the time that our director's position was not filled. So we're in good shape for the rest of the year as far as the regional office is concerned.
Good deal. Thank you, Lynn. You're doing a good job.
Thank you.
Appreciate the opportunity. Okay, so can we receive the update without objections? We can do that, right? Are there any objections to receiving? Then we will receive. Thank you all for being here. Our next meeting will be on Monday, August the 5th at 4 o'clock. May I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I make a motion.
And second? We done.